As part of our series, our Just Start series, where we are taking a look at the variety of ways that we practice the ability and the witness of becoming and being good Samaritans, we've been asking folks who are part of our congregation to share with us the stories of their lives. This morning, we are so fortunate, I think, to have with us a person who will be joining in the next new member class, Curt Wands-Bourdoiseau. Curt, in case you've noticed, is the father of the three very red-headed children that we see running around here on Sunday mornings. We're so grateful for each one of them and for your genes, those beautiful red-haired genes. May they continue. Curt is a physician's assistant at San Francisco General. He helps to run the San Francisco General Family Health Center. Curt is a living witness this morning to our subject, loving the forsaken. Curt, welcome.
Good morning, my sisters and brothers. I'm going to take us a far step away in talking about loving the forsaken. Before Julie, my wife, and myself came here, we were working in a rural part of Colombia. The shortest, well, actually not the shortest one anymore in our family, but our son Gregory Mateo was actually born in the jungle in Colombia. And his first language is Spanish. And he was the unusual one in that mix because the majority of the population we worked with were Afro-Colombian and indigenous. So his background is a bit different, and is why you'll hear our daughters speaking Spanish and French before they get English. In those communities, when we chose to go there, we knew we were purposely going to a war zone, a conflict zone, a difficult area even without the war. We lived in the Atrato River area, which borders with Panama. There are no roads. It's the one place the Pan American Highway doesn't go through. So all the traffic in our area is by boat. There's no running water, no electricity. There's no sewage for 40,000 people. And our work there was training village health promoters and midwives. And one day a group came from the community of Montaño, community leaders and the health promoter. And they came to request help. One of the young men in the community, who was in his 20s, had a mental illness. And he had just stabbed his mother in the back with a machete, piercing her kidney. Now, she had already made it to the hospital, but in the midst of his hallucinations, he was convinced his own mother was a snake. And a not uncommon hallucination for people with schizophrenia, even in the US. The concern from the community was, who's he going to get next? What if you lived there? What defense do you have against somebody who believes that you're a snake or a witch or whatever you are in the midst of hallucinations? And so they had decided as a community to walk him out into the jungle somewhere far away and leave him, unless there was a chance of saving his violent actions from the rest of their community. So we talked about what the options are and whether something really could be done. And we returned to that community, which is about a 3.5-hour trip upriver on good days, in long canoe-type boats with just one small outboard motor on the back, being stopped by the military en route because these communities are all considered either on one side or the other of the armed conflict. When we got there, we got together with Edwin, who was this young man, who at the time really didn't recognize whether we were there or not, or what we were or not. But he agreed that it might be good to have an injection that might help him think better. The injection is an antipsychotic, which lasts for a month. And within a matter of days, for the first time in years, Edwin was able to think like some of us do without seeing other images in front of him and hearing other people. And he was able to rejoin as part of a productive member of the community there. And he was not left to die. When we talk about the forsaken and loving the forsaken, I had to think at first that term that we often hear, God-forsaken. What a God-forsaken place. And I don't believe that exists. I don't believe there is God forsaken. I believe there's a forsaken place of us from one another. And what I heard from that call from the community of Montano that day was, we need not to be forsaken. They needed not to be forsaken in a time of war, which I will add was a U.S. propagated war. All the machinery, all the war weapons, all of the ships, the helicopters, the M16s were from the U.S., and that's why we were there as well. In a way to try to combine our sense of justice with a sense of community service, with a sense of being present and not leaving people to be forsaken, not from God, but from one another. And that's how I believe that God's Spirit lives through us in community, in those actions we take every day that bring us closer to community and farther from being abandoned and forsaken. So it's a joy to be here in community with you all and join hands together to seek what ways we can, wherever we are, to be less forsaken in this world. Amen.